Hey guys, it's Rob. I'm back. We're going to be doing another Hack the Box walkthrough. This time we're going to be doing a machine called Manage. It is a Linux machine. It is rated as easy. It depends on the route that you take. I decided to go the Metasploit route for the initial foothold. There is a way to do it manually. I may do a separate video on that. I'm just not familiar enough with the tools to do so. It's a Java exploit, and you need tools like Bean Shooter and stuff like that. And I'm just not that familiar with them. I got to do a little bit more research. So I may do another video on this particular machine on how to exploit it manually. The privilege escalation was a little tricky. I had to do a lot of research. It was very hard to figure out. Ultimately, it was pretty stupid, but if you know your Linux history and Ubuntu, maybe it won't be an issue for you. So without further ado, you can see I am connected to Hack the Box's VPN, and I do have the managed machines spun up. So as we always do, I ran an mmap scan. I did surface version detection T4 aggressive on the most common ports. And what came back was 222222, which is this Java RMI that we're actually is going to be the way that we get into the machine. And then there's 8080, which is running a Tomcat server. And I tried going to the Tomcat server, and in a previous video, I had exploited Tomcat by using the default credentials and some other ways to actually exploit the machine. In this case, I clicked on all of the host manager and the manager app, and nothing brought up any kind of credentials for me to log into Tomcat. So that was a no-go this time. Tomcat is one of those things I'm not super skilled with. So what I did decide to focus on, like I said, was this 2222 Java RMI. So if we go the Metasploit route, what you would do here is you type MSF console, and we'll give a second for MSF console to load, and then we're going to do search for Java RMI. And I took the first one that looked like it was applicable, and I just copied this Java JMX server copy selection. And we need to type use, paste clipboard, and we're in that module now. So now we got to type options, and there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we need to configure. First and foremost, the exploit target is generic Java payload, which is fine. The payload options it's going to be a Java interpreter reverse TCP payload, which is fine again. So it looks like we need to set the R hosts, which is going to be the machine we're attacking, the R port, which is going to be 2222, and then I need to set the L host to my VPN interface. So let's do that first. Set L host to ton 0, and then we need to set the R port to 2222. And then we need to set the R hosts to the IP address, which let me just copy that real quick. Paste clipboard. And then we're going to type options again. Okay, so let's just verify we get everything we need here. My interface is correct. Payload's good. Target's good. R host looks good. R port looks good. So we should be able to just type run. And we should get a interpreter session out of this. Looking good. Sending stage. We have an interpreter session. So we're going to do get UID. Looks like Tomcat. So let's go to home. CD home. And we're going to do an LS. And it looks like there's Carl and user admin. So if we go into Carl, CD Carl, do an LS, let's just do AIL. Sudoers admin successful. SSH. SSH. Let me just see what's in this SSH folder. Maybe sometimes there's an identity file in there. No, it's not allowing that. So let's go to the root ls. Okay, and Tomcat, let's look in the opt folder. So cd opt, and then we do an ls. And there's a Tomcat directory, so we'll cd Tomcat. And we'll do an ls. And there's a user.txt, so we'll cat user.txt. And we got the flag. Okay, so we have the user flag. Now, how do we escalate here? There's a couple of things we could do here. First and foremost, I think we need to look at back in the home directory. I saw a user admin. So let's do that. cd home ls. Yep, user admin. So cd user admin ls. Ooh, there's a backups folder. We always like that. So cd backups ls. It looks like there's a tarball of backups. So what we'll do is, because we have a interpreter shell, we can do download backup. Okay, so now if we open our file, we have backup tar gz. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just going to call it manage. And we're going to drop this folder in there. We're going to right click on that and click extract here. And now we have a backup folder, which appears empty, which is a signal to me that there's probably hidden files in there maybe. So let's open a terminal here. So now we're in that extracted backup folder of the extracted backup that we downloaded from the machine. So let's do an ls ail. All right, and it looks like we have an SSH folder that could be useful and a Google Authenticator file. That is potentially something we want to look at. So let's look at that first. So cat Google Authenticator, and we have what I was hoping we would have, which is a bunch of offline authenticator codes to use in case you lose access to the app. So that's something we're going to want to keep an eye on. So next we're going to do cd.ssh, and we're going to do an ls. And look at that, we have an ID file and we have some authorized keys. So that tells me that we could probably SSH into the machine using this ID file. So the user is user admin. So let's do that. Let's try it out and see what happens. So SSH user admin, right? And we just got to change this IP address. It is 137.215. And we're going to use this ID file, right? And we're going to click enter. And we're going to say yes. And now it's asking for a verification code. So let's just copy one of these, paste. And there it is. We are user admin at manage, but that is not a root shell. So let's do the normal things that we do. Let's do history, and I'm going to guess it's probably all getting piped to dev null. No history. Next thing we do, typically step 2 is sudo-l. Oh, and we got some kind of payload here. It looks like we can create a user, and there's a regex string. So any alphanumeric user, it looks like. This is where I was stuck for a while, because if you do something like sudo add user Rob, we're going to set the password, and the full name is Rob, dump, yes. If you switch user to Rob, and we do sudo-l, Rob may not run sudo on manage. So I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to take advantage of this. I think I tried to add myself to a group and that didn't work. So what I ended up doing was doing some research on Google and figuring out that if you exit here, right, and we do use sudo add user admin, something different happens when you do this, right? It adds this group admin. Now, that's important, and I'll tell you why. And it's admin. Yes. If we do sudo or switch user to admin, you're going to see something much more promising. Okay, so we put the password in. Now I'm admin, right? So look at that. All. And what I ended up finding out was that in Ubuntu, administrative privileges are granted by users by adding them to the sudo group, not the admin group. The admin group is a relic for older versions of Ubuntu, which I didn't understand why it works on this machine, because this is a much newer version of Ubuntu, okay? And is not used in modern installations to grant administrative rights. Now, I did read somewhere that it can sometimes be added for backwards compatibility, right? Right here it says the admin group in Ubuntu has been superseded by sudo. While admin may still exist on some upgraded systems from earlier versions of Ubuntu for backward compatibility. I kind of confirm this by doing this, going cd etc and then cat group. And it added the admin group, right? Which is a relic. So I don't know, I don't fully understand how this is working, because if you look, when you logged into this machine, when we logged into this machine, we could just scroll back up. This is Ubuntu, it says the Ubuntu version up here somewhere. 2204. So this is like well past that. I wouldn't think that they would allow something that to be still backwards compatible, but I guess yes, they do. So the trick here is, now that we can do sudo all, we can just switch user root and we can type our password. Oops, I typed my password wrong. So switch user root. What did I do wrong here? Hang on a second, let me figure that out. Okay, I think I figured it out. It's Rob being a dipshit. So what you have to do is, because it's sudo, that we have no password required. You got to do sudo switch user root, and there we go. You don't even have to type the password. You are now root. So let me just explain that one more time. You cannot just because I'm in the admin group doesn't mean I can just switch user to root. I have the ability to do sudo on all commands with no password, which is really bad. It's like basically root access. So by doing sudo switch user root, it's not even asking me for a password, and it's escalating my privileges to root. So hopefully you understand why this exploit worked. Basically, you have to create a user called admin. If you create any other user, it's not going to work. It's just going to give you a low-level user. You have to create user admin. When you do, it creates that backward compatible group admin and gives it the backward compatible privileges of what that group, that deprecated group, used to have, which is essentially root access, right? Not necessarily root, because root can just type any command with and do anything, but it is an admin account in the sense that as long as you type sudo, you can do anything. Okay, that's the difference between root and the admin account, is you have to use the sudo command. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. But if you look now, we can do cd root ls cat root .txt, and there's the root flag right there. And I'm just going to copy that so I can put it in Hack the Box. So hopefully this video was helpful. Just to recap, what we did was we took advantage of Java RMI, which is it's a way to remotely access Java methods. And I am not a developer by any stretch of the imagination. Anytime any of these boxes gets into development with Git or Java or any of the programming languages, except for maybe Python, I struggle a little bit. So I did go the Metasploit route, got an interpreter session. We were able to privesc using sudo by adding a user, and that user has to be admin because of a deprecated group that has you can still enable apparently for backward compatibility, and that user admin can run sudo on all commands with no password. We then just sudo switch user to root, and we have root access. I think I'm going to do another video on this particular box and do the manual exploit. I'm going to do a little bit more research on Bean Shooter and some of the tools needed in Java tools needed to be able to do that. So I will have all the links in the description below. Like I said, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video.